Scrapping David. I'm back. Might also has to be short. My PC. Can do it like that. Wait, does it still? Okay, it still does it. Good. Alright, let's just get this. Oh, wait. What should I talk about? Well, I have basically thought about some parts of the story. For instance, I thought of what will happen when the underworld. I thought of it like this. First, Tyrant comes down there because he's locked down there. No, actually no. First it's Vinox get down there because they were like fleeing from getting exterminated. A little more complicated than that because the thing is that at first Tyrants actually liked Vinox, but then Horror just was like you could just touch them and they would crumble. You could look at them the wrong way and they would break. And so they kind of renounced them. But they are kind of like pests. They're not really easy to manage or maintain, like keep the population low and such, because keep reproducing, so it's difficult to get rid of them. That they sought to remedy in the next iterations of their designs, but like for the next creature they would create the Thraxon, but at least make sure that it's easier to like identify where they are so you can exterminate them. But that means the Vinox is actually the first one to like flee underground and eventually reach the caverns. And so they're like the first faction that makes it down there into the underground. The Carkles also make it down there pretty quickly. They roughly have the same result as Vinox, only now they're like a canines instead of a canid shape, instead of being a humanoid shape. Well, Vinox ain't really humanoid shape. I guess they have more like childlike proportions, maybe beefier forearms, board hands that like 3 indexes. And damn it. They also can fly. And then they're the Vnoxen. They are like the leaders of a Vnoxen tribe. And they are actually like kind of a little taller than a human. They're like the same size as a hybrid draffle. I want to say hybrid, I don't mean that they are like a mismatch between 2 races, 2 species. Not races. Species. They're not that. It just refers to their ability to, well, have multiple different skeletal formations. We're talking, they can get, move the skeleton into having from being like a humanoid to a canine form or like composition. You can also like bend in unnatural ways. So they do have to physically like dislodge their bones and then re-lodge them. Kind of like their sockets that they can track into, only you have to form the sockets. The good thing is, though, that raffles don't really have organs, like biological organs. They only have one, which is called the black box. Technically also nice. And the sexual one, that's somewhere up in the mouth. The reproductive organ, sorry about that. Oop. They are all but the Vnox, they were the first one who got down there. Then there was the Cargills, and then it was Horror, because the Fraxen soon after, well, beat back Horror. And then it's Horror itself. And it just takes, it is just, it's pretty big. Then it was the Fraxen that came. The Fraxens then came down there. Then it was the Vlor. Then a lot of years passes, and then it's the lost Raffics that get down there. No, wait. At first it's Tyrant after a few years, and then comes the Raffics. And then a few years after that, then comes the Homelander Raffics, which I will not get into here, but effectively the Raffics that survived from the homeworld being teleported of sorts, or like re-assimilated at Drafleon, underground. Then comes then comes humanity, but like the Undercity, like the underground gangs and such, which are there to make a profit by mining osmium and different materials, but mainly osmium, because that is the primary method to defeat Traffles, or like kill them. And like, if ever I make a strategy game with like diplomacy and such. Where you could like fight, you can have diplomacy with someone and make allies, make enemies, all that sort of thing. Then the human campaign shall be the most difficult one, because it will like be two parts. There'll be the city above. But yeah, the human faction would be the one that has the toughest, because like they would rely on well, it's not actually the unit roster that would be the problem. That would also be a problem, but the problem is they need osmium. They need osmium everywhere. In the underground they would actually do quite well, because most creatures that they're fighting, they can at least do damage to them. They can't really do damage to Thraxen and Tyrants. But like to everything else, they will be able to do damage. And like with the fraction and tyrants, then they would just need to have some as a mercenary. Actually, they can't get mercenaries, but they would just need to get some high caliber rounds and such. They would need some armor piercing in a way. But the problem they will have to face is that they need to meet a certain quota. Because otherwise the city above gets debuffs, and if the city above gets debuffs, then it can't meet it. Then that city can't meet its quotas, and if it does not meet its quotas, then it will apply debuffs to the gang below. And that way, both the top and the bottom are like codependent, but like the consequences of one failing, it only applies consequences to the other civilization. So if the top does really poorly at completing its missions but is always thriving, well, guess what? It's only the city below that suffers from its neglect. And vice versa. And there should be some devastating effects. For instance, with below ground, then it should be that the recruitment price is 200% higher or something. Or that the gun units above ground, they get 60% less ammunition. They don't have 40% of the ammunition. There's a bunch of fun things you could do. Or that the underground units always constantly suffer unit loss. Attrition. There's a bunch of fun things you could do. Question is just, should I do a second round? Can I get away with a second round? Yep. Oh, come on. Oh. I could probably get away with a second round, but you know what? Yeah. I don't really have anything effective I need to do tomorrow, so yeah. But I have to check if there's some specific person that has gone to bed yet after this. I've restocked my pickaxes. Looking good. Two, three, four. Bum bada bada bum bada bada bum. Bum bum bada bada bum 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 bada 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 bum. Bum bada bum bada bada bum 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 bada bum. Okay, let's see if I can get over there. Over there, there. And over there, there. Oh, damn it. Oh, I know I wouldn't be. Maybe I should talk about tackle. There's a stone place. Alright. Oh. The problem is, what should the story down there be? Hey, what should you follow? Maybe you should follow, like... Oh, that's actually also the travel that was trapped beneath ground. Oh, that's probably what I could use him for. Maybe Traffic doesn't even have to die. Because, like, originally I thought of there should be this travel that's been below ground that's died. Actually, I just thought of something. Have I talked about... Yeah, I think I have written about it, but I haven't talked about what the like purpose of my story is. I haven't actually talked about the discovery I made about the graphic homeworlders. They actually hold a very important role in my story. The thing is that the homeworld graphics, they have been granted a gift of seeing good from evil. Like the original the graphics couldn't see good from evil. They were like, well, in this universe, creatures can evolve, and they never evolved with the ability to be able to decipher good from evil. They were like the humans of paradise. Like the Garden of Eden. This is interesting though, because if they are from basically the same as humanity were in the Garden of Eden, that means that they aren't able to tell good from evil. Now, people like to think that being a Christian is like being in a prison, that you are like renouncing your free will. Technically true, but the thing is, we are renouncing something that we, an ability that we took, or we are renouncing, we want to renounce an ability that we took that actually does not give us freedom, but is more like a curse. Because you see, when we were without, actually, let's just look at what we are now. We have the ability to tell good from evil. We are able to tell if somebody is doing something bad to us. We are able to process that and react accordingly. Like, he did that to me, now I'm mad about that. And maybe I need to like have it avenged. But the thing is, we as humans have a subjective opinion of things. And frankly, it is just the ability to like judge what others like do. Like, I should also mention, this is not based upon scripture. I should mention that. I'm just speaking like what I think. So don't take this as being scripture. But when we ate the fruit of knowledge, then we got the ability to like process and identify that he did something bad to me, or he did something good to me. And with this ability, that would of course be very good if we're like able to objectively tell whenever or not somebody has done good or bad. But the problem is we're humans, so therefore there's a lot of subjectivity in how we translate what people do to us. It's a very subjective matter. What we interpret people's actions, and that means that if somebody like does something that's subjectively good, then we can interpret it as subjectively bad, which then means that then we get like annoyed and angry, and we want to, well, quote unquote, avenge it. And that is the main problem, because like we are not God. We cannot tell if it is objectively good or bad. We may look past the facts and interpret it as bad, or like getting fixated on how we feel about something. And that will well, result in us basically taking something that's good and turning and like believing that it's something bad and that it should be punished. When in actuality it's just good intent. It's good, all of it. It was never meant to hurt. And maybe it doesn't even hurt, but it's just us that interpret it as hurting. So like, actually, the ability to tell good from evil is not free will. It is the change that forces us to like take a reaction and either interpret it as bad or good. Or like mixed. Or like insignificant, trivial. But the problem is, actions may seem trivial, but it might not be trivial to the person who is actually doing them. And frankly, we have a tendency to react a lot more on what we feel than what others feel. We can also feel what others feel, but well, some of us can, but it's just... Though I do believe that psychopaths are like a genetic malfunction or biological malfunction. Like it is goes from genetic degradation over like when... that's also an interesting thing. Biblical scripture, and God makes this expanse. He takes the water and makes an expanse of it, and that is potentially a big sphere of ice that covers the Earth and kind of protected the Earth from, well, kind of like kept it as an enclosed space, but it may also have served as a radioactive deterrent, because it simply reflects off the cosmic ray, the background rays from outer space. And now it's gone because the floods and the Noah's Ark. So that is also an interesting take. But what I was trying to say about fruit of knowledge and how it actually is not freedom. It is not freedom because your ability to tell something or like to judge something is not freedom. It is not God, like you eating the fruit does not give you more freedom. It doesn't change how you act. Well, it does change how you act, because now you're forced to either interpret things as good and evil. You now don't have the freedom to do whatever we did before that. We now always have to either consider it good or evil, or force ourselves not to mind it, to like express our concerns about it. And now you might be saying that, well, it's good to have the ability to like discern whenever something is good or bad, because if we don't, then people might take advantage of this. But here's the thing. If no one was ever wronged here on Earth, and if we didn't have biological degradation, if no one was ever wronged on Earth, or if no one was ever thought he was wronged on Earth, then we wouldn't be evil. Then we wouldn't do evil stuff. If you are, even if you were selfish, if you're not able to tell good from evil, then why would you do something that's evil? Well, actually, technically you would be able to do something that's evil. But the question is, would you be able to be selfish? Like, think about this. A baby thinks that, oh, I'm hungry. This is evil. I'm gonna cry. Oh, mom comes and gives me food. Okay, so it is good to cry. It is good to cry, because then mom knows I need food. Or And then the baby figures out, oh, if I just keep on crying, then I can kind of control my mom. That is good, because then I never go hungry. So that means that controlling my mom is good. And like, that is a very selfish showcase of what you could do. Because then like you learn to be manipulative and control people. And like, yes, you could call that freedom. It's freedom to like take it, but it's actually just a feedback loop. It just creates a feedback loop. And that feedback loop, when it's based on subjective opinion, is not actually good. And it's not really free will. It has nothing to do with free will. It's just simply adding another circuit onto us, which is the ability to tell good from evil. That is what the Fruit of Knowledge did. It gave us another, well, another feedback loop. And this feedback loop can easily be manipulated to do, well, to make us evil. But then the question is, what is sin? That I haven't quite thought out what that would be in this sense, because, well, if I can't explain sin, then this is definitely a wrong take on it. In fact, it is likely that it is a wrong take. But like, I am just a bit, what did I want to say? What did I want to say? Oh wait, it should be, like this. What was it about sin I wanted to say? The thing is also, if you're able to tell good from evil, then it's like you are not gonna act on like what is good and practical. You're gonna act upon what is actually, let me just think. How does this make? And is there anyone here? Okay, good. Good. If you are able to tell what is good and what is bad, objectively speaking, that doesn't necessarily mean that you know to do either. Because how do you know which of the two you should do? Well, we want to do good, we say, but why do we want to say that we want to do good? Well, that's because doing evil, that is subjectively, that is to inflict harm on others. So therefore we want to do good because that gets the most praise. That is like how people around us will have it the best. But it doesn't actually give us anything. Meanwhile, doing evil sometimes can do good to us, but then why do we also do bad things to ourselves? Well, because we subjectively believe it's good. That's also a thing, actually. Like, we know that eating cake and all sorts of chocolate, fattening ourselves up, that is not good. But we do it anyway. So how exactly is this ability to judge what is good and evil? how exactly does it do? What does it do for us in that situation? Like, the only place where it actually... It was much I guess it is a little late, so it's a little difficult to think. And it was also a little bit of a weird argument I had with myself earlier today. But the problem is mainly that we are able to... The problem is also I don't know what we had before the fruit of knowledge was eaten. Don't know what we had before. That makes it difficult to, like, tell. But, like, if we became like God, and before we're not like God, then it was more that we listened to what God said, that you should not do this. Okay, we do not do this. Why? We don't question why. Because we know he is God. He knows best. But we clearly have the free will, because Eva then went over and ate that fruit. It's not like God says, you cannot do this. And then we're just unable to do it. Because we saw exactly that we were able to go over against God's will and eat the fruit of knowledge. That is like the biggest showcase of free will. To say that we don't have free will is dumb, because that is the same as saying that, well, the fall of sin shouldn't have happened. Because, like, if we didn't have free will, then the fall of sin wouldn't have happened. But we did have free will, so therefore it happened. And now we are tied with the ability to like, judge whenever something is good or bad, but the problem is we judged it based upon ourselves, like what we feel. We may also be able to, like, look at it objectively and say, okay, I might suffer a bit, but everyone else will benefit. And that is, well, there's also a dangerous path to take with that, because then people will think you're a pushover, and then they will sacrifice you more if you take that stance. But that's because they are, like, again, waging what is best for everyone. And, like, they're twisting the ability to determine what's good and evil and weighing good against bad, instead of just realizing it is wrong to do this to a person, so therefore I shouldn't do it at all. Because then we suddenly have the... Okay, let's for an example say that we have a person that has a pool, and then a community wants a pool. Now, if they have the fruit the knowledge, well, the fruit of knowledge eaten, they have the ability to tell, okay, so it will do him harm if we take his pool, but it will benefit everyone else if we take his pool. So that means it's a net positive. That's a net positive. Therefore, we're going to take his pool. Maybe they evaluate the risk and determine, nah, that's not worth it. Or maybe they evaluate that, well, I wouldn't have that happen to me, so therefore it shouldn't happen to him. Because the problem there, then it's like you again are putting yourself in their shoes to determine how you would feel and acting based upon that. There you are using the fruit first to objectively say what is best, and then afterwards using the fruit to subjectively say what is best for the individual. And then you end up, if you're smart, then you end up picking what you would think is the net negative, or the neutral answer. Actually, that's a neutral answer. That is to do nothing about their pool and make your own. But if you don't make that question, then you might try to seize the pool, and well, that is a net positive for the community, but for the one person, it is gonna put a huge toll on him. And that is just reasoning like that is a problem. Like, how else do we have people that are this dumb in the world? They just like, well, this is for the community, and we have taken this pool for the community. A lot of people will benefit. There's also a problem that behind the back, then they also are a bit. But actually, no, usually in that case, they have some ulterior motive behind the back where they try to make it just good for themselves. But like, you can follow their argumentation that they would do it for the good of the community, and when people hear that, then they use their, well, reasoning, and like, that is the best for the majority of the community, but yes, they once they also try to look at how would I feel about it, then they realize, nah, that's not a good idea. But if you don't have the ability to tell what is good and bad, well, what would then drive you? It's difficult because, like, what exactly is sin with this? Maybe I actually think I might just have made up something that doesn't make sense at all. Maybe this doesn't make sense at all. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I should get my text I wrote. Wait, I didn't. I forgot to do this last time. Ship. Crap. I think I forgot to do that last time. No. Oh no. Oh wait, I forgot the shovel. Okay, I have to stop after this because I'm feeling it. that, I think we end it now. So I will leave now, and goodbye. Bye.